So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Jean, and I will be the moderator for today. Today's webinar will be entitled My Journey as an International Student in Malaysia. So we have actually done 7 series under the student journey sharing. And if you would like to find out more, you can find out through our YouTube channel, Utah Division of Program Promotion. Okay, so as we mentioned in the topic earlier, today's topic will be based on international students. And we are actually glad to and honored to have our international students here with us to share their student journey with Utah as an international student. So before we move on, let's go through a short introduction about yourself with our participants today. So Tanvir, would you like to start the introduction first?
Yes. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muhammad Tanveer and I am from Lahore, Pakistan. And I am doing my PhD in computer sciences in the Faculty of Information and Communication Technology. Thanks.
Thank you. How about Xiyu?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Liu Xiyu. 我来自中国. Now I'm studying Bachelor of Arts Chinese Studies in Year 1 and 3. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Amana Muhammad and I'm from Sri Lanka, and I am currently studying Bachelor's in Biochemistry, and I'm in my 2nd year and on to my 2nd semester now. So in Sinhala, in Sri Lanka, we speak in Sinhala, so we greet everyone saying Aibowan. And yeah, this is actually a picture from my own country featuring South coastal area, as we have a lot of beaches and coconut trees. So yes, thank you.
Thank you everyone for the short introduction. So, all right, we will start by getting to know more information about our speakers today. So let's find out why you choose Malaysia and how Malaysia or Utah got into the list of your choices. So the first thing first, have you been to Malaysia before you joined Utah, and what was your view back then at that very moment? So perhaps we can start with Amana.
Yes, so well, it's actually not my first time in your beautiful country. I've been to Malaysia quite a number of times before with my family on holiday. Let me see, I first came here when I was only 9 years old, and it was my first ever trip abroad. So if you're asking me how I felt back then, I was just really excited to be on a plane and explore more of the world. I wasn't entirely sure of what to expect, other than, let's say, the Twin Towers and scenic views, because they always advertise the Malaysia Truly Asia advertisement on TV. So yeah, as soon as I arrived in Kuala Lumpur, I felt like a really small girl in a big city. Although I am from Colombo, which is the capital of Sri Lanka, back then malls and theme parks and such were not quite evident in my country. So experiencing them for the first time had me completely awestruck. Not to mention, this country has amazing local food and extremely hospitable people. So I've always felt a warm sense of welcome. And each time I visited, I would leave wanting to return back very, very soon. So I would say it's no wonder that I returned for my higher education, and I would go as far as saying it's become a second home to me.
So I guess that is how Utah or even pursuing your higher education got into your list of choices, right? Okay,
yes,
so
sure.
Yes, so back then we did a lot of advertisement on Malaysia through the Asia, like what you say, Cuti Malaysia, and so on. So perhaps that is one of the factors that attracted you to choose put Malaysia in your list. Okay, so now we have Mr. Chris with us as well. He is one of our international students who is currently pursuing a PhD program in Utah. So he's actually from Nigeria. So let's welcome Mr. Chris.
You're welcome, everybody. Nice meeting you. Thank you.
All right. So Mr. Chris, based on my findings, Nigeria is actually about 11 hours away from your home country. So why did you choose Utah, and how do you came across Utah?
Yeah, thank you. That's a beautiful question. Really, I reside in South Africa. I left Nigeria like 3 years ago. So before that was when I was in South Africa before I moved down here. Yeah. So I was trying to look for a school. I was trying to do that. Okay, I wouldn't want to do my further studies in Africa. So let me go to other places and explore. So while I was Googling, I came across Utah, and as everything worked well, I contacted my supervisor, who happened to also be from Africa, from Nigeria. So he responded. So even I even contacted him when I was doing my master's, 2016. I've been communicating with him on email. So I was just, okay, I'm updated, okay, I'm gonna come. So, and by the time I concluded my master's degree program, then I just applied. In fact, I even referred of one of my friends is also called me. By now, you should have been there because of COVID, you have been in Malaysia. So he was in Nigeria. He's also called me, same supervisor. So that's how I landed in Malaysia. And when I've been here, it was quite awesome. It's good to explore that country, that continent. This is my first time living in Africa. I've never left Africa. So it's quite awesome. And it's been a brief experience for me to be here in Utah. Thank you.
Thank you. That is very great to know that about your experience and how did you actually came across Utah. And how about Siyu? What was your view about Malaysia back then before you started your education with Utah?
Yeah, I think like far back, like 10 years ago, I've heard about, I think when I heard about it was like 15 years ago when I was doing my diploma in Nigeria. I was doing diploma. So one of our lecturers talked about Malaysia, how Malaysia came to Nigeria in 1978, 79. They came to Nigeria and they picked palm kernel, they picked cassava, and we were told then, and it's still up to date, that Malaysia is the second or first highest palm oil producer in the world. So that's how I got to know about Malaysia. Then years after, like 10 years ago, where I live, there's some students and other people that we are that they are coming to Malaysia for study. So that the education is quite good. So that's how I got to, then it impressed me to have like courage and ambition and the willingness to come and do, okay, I'm going to go to Malaysia to one of my programs. So that's how I heard about Malaysia. So before I started contacting my supervisor.
Thank you. So let's hear from Liu Siyu as well. What was your view about Malaysia?
Before I came to Malaysia, I learned about Malaysia through TV and online information. Maybe in 2011, I watched the movie titled Love You. The film was set on island in Malaysia with blue sky and white clouds, clear water and fresh air. And this made me feel good about Malaysia. So and then the capital of Malaysia is Kuala Lumpur, which located in Southeast Asia. Malaysia is a multi-ethnic and pluralistic country. In my opinion, Malaysia's climate is hot and humid, and is home to tropical rainforest climate. And Malaysia is a multiracial country, which makes Malaysia have many special delicacies such as nasi lemak, roti canai, and many more. Thank you.
Yes. So Malaysia's climate is actually hot and humid, unlike your country back then. So in Malaysia, we call it the tropical weather. So why did you actually choose Utah?
Utah promotes educational cooperation with China and Malaysia. It's also a well-known university in China. And My uncle is a university teacher in China. The university he works for has a cooperation with Utah, so he recommended me to study in Utah. And Utah's ranking in the world is comparable to China's Wuhan University, Xi'an Jiaotong University, and other universities. The most important point is that the learning atmosphere and environment of Utah is very good, which is very suitable for our learning. Thank you.
So I agree with you, like what you say. Actually, Utah is ranked among the 501 to 600 in the Times Higher Education World University Ranking 2021, and the second in Malaysia in the Times Higher Education Malaysia Asian University Ranking. So Utah now offers more than 120 programs ranging from foundation, undergraduate to postgraduate studies. So well, being an international student from Sri Lanka, why did you choose Utah?
So first, being an adventurous and curious person, I've always wanted to have that experience of studying abroad. And as you can tell from my first impressions, Malaysia held a pretty special place in my heart. And so it was a natural top contender for the country I wanted to study at. It was also the country my parents felt comfortable sending their only daughter to, probably because it was not too far away from Sri Lanka and because, well, I'm Muslim, so the culture is quite similar. So I found it very convenient food-wise too. So Malaysia is quite reputed in my country as well. There are like a number of students going into Malaysia every single year for higher studies. And it's very much reputed in my country for its quality higher education standards and top-notch universities. There are hundreds of Sri Lankans flying every year, like I said. So I myself have a number of friends and family who have studied in Malaysia before and have been satisfied with the experience. However, none who studied at Utah. To be honest, I believe that Utah only recently emerged in the spotlight, at least internationally, I think, because I stumbled upon Utah due to the specific nature of the course I wanted to study in, that is biochemistry. And Utah happened to be the only private university in Malaysia that offered the subject. So I did my research and discovered that it has been showing steady improvement and like becoming increasingly evident in world rankings. And not to mention its very affordable student fees. So, but I was still somewhat skeptical. However, my father later attended the Utah Open Day back in September 2019, and he was very satisfied with the Kampa campus and the information he received on the course and the university life. So I was convinced that it was the right choice, and well, here I am. Yeah, I'm glad.
We are glad to have you with us as well. So how about Tanvir? How did you why did you choose Utah?
Actually, there are several reasons to join Utah because I always eager to study in the world top ranked universities. Like before this, I did my master from NTU Singapore. So I heard about Utah. Utah is a highly ranked university in Malaysia. And another thing is that my supervisor has very interesting research project and he is very expert in his area. So these are the reasons which fascinated to me to join Utah.
I'm glad that you are actually able to find a suitable university to study and pursue your education. So living in another country alone is definitely challenging for all international students, especially in a multinational country like Malaysia. How similar is it with the Malaysian culture as compared to your country, Tamya?
Yes, Malaysian culture is, I find it very interesting. And my supervisors and my Malaysian friends are very helpful to me to learn about the Malaysian culture. And it is very nice experience to study in Utah and find it very interesting to learn about the Malaysian culture.
So it must be very interesting for you to find out so much about Malaysia's culture and then to learn about the culture itself. So are you guys actually facing any language barrier as Malaysia, Bahasa Malaysia is actually the national language in Malaysia, but it may be something new to international students. So let's perhaps we can hear a little bit from each of you. And Tamia, would you like to continue your sharing?
Yeah. Yes. Actually, at that moment, I cannot understand the Bahasa Melayu, but I heard this one is very interesting, but language. But in my vicinity, the people who are in my vicinity, they can understand the English language. So I did not find any difficulty to live in Malaysia, but I found it very little bit difficulty when I went to shopping and buy some grocery, where I find some difficulty because the people cannot understand the 100% understand the English language. So in these places, I found little bit difficulty. So these are the experience from my side according to the language.
I see. So how about Chris? Any language barrier that you're facing during your student journey in Malaysia? Chris, we can't hear you.
Okay, let me try to. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, there's no for my study, there's no barrier in language because the study is conducted in English. The only barrier where I have barrier at times is when I go for shopping outside. I talk to the locals. That's where I have challenge because some of them they don't understand English, so that's where I have challenge. But I've been trying to cope to learn few about the languages that are like greeting, hi, one or two things, and I'm coping, and it's getting better every day.
Okay, so I believe Malaysian, we mix our languages around English, Chinese, Malay, all in one sentence. But then perhaps Siyu, you may have difficulties in your daily communication and your language barrier. So is there anything that you'd like to share with us?
Yes. I'm facing a language barrier because I'm from the north of China. In my country, we speak Mandarin as the national language. I never came into contact with the Bahasa Melayu, and I never heard it even in my daily life. But when I began to learn to understand the Malay culture and began to learn the Malay language, I found that many Malay sounds were very similar to English. For example, telephone, bell, transaction, and transaction. So the knowledge is not very fun.
So I guess we learn new things every day, new languages every day, and as I mentioned, you actually you are able to guess what we are speaking because we mix everything around. Like, do you want to go yum cha at the mamak shop or not? So that is what we usually say in. So I guess from some of the words you can pick up the meaning of the whole sentence, right? So yeah, so I guess it may not affect your daily conversation, but then how about your understanding during the class, perhaps on the slang or the languages that we speak, especially if sometimes your teacher may mix up the languages during classes and so on. Does that affect your learning experience in during class? See you?
Yes. It doesn't really affect my class because in class the knowledge that the lecturer imparts is explained in English. There may be times when the instructors use Malay words when they expand on Malay words like food and place names. Other than that, all the lessons they teach are in English, so on the whole, it doesn't bother me.
I see. So for undergraduate studies, I believe it doesn't affect much. But How about you, Amana? You're in the science stream. So any problem or understanding difficulties during your class?
No, well, in the beginning, like you said, because Malaysian English almost sounds like a whole new language with the amount of slang and the number of languages mixed in it. But before coming to study, maybe the extent of slang I knew was probably just la at the end of the sentences. But after coming here and now being here for over 1.5 years, I've grown quite accustomed to it. I do know the meanings of most slang words, I would say. And I think some of them don't even have a substantial meaning. For instance, words like la, lai, mau, and then they say I done liao, which means I'm done already. Like the tapao is to take away, and the nota is to eat, and all those classic words I now know. And then, of course, like the Uncle Roger slang, like Haya and Fuyo is now famous. But yeah, in a nutshell, I would say that 80% my English fluent now. And although in the beginning there were a few hiccups trying to catch up with the lecturer and their language, now I have, for instance, like back then, a few semesters ago, I took Sun Tzu's Art of War, and the lecturer would show videos in Chinese, but I have friends who understand, so I would just ask them what happened, and like, yeah, I would somehow manage. So yeah, I'd say I don't have any problems now. Thank you.
So for undergraduate studies, we have heard from Siyu and also Amana that they are not facing any difficulties in understanding, but for PhD studies, I guess it wouldn't be a problem as you're focusing much on your research, and in writing, everything would be done in English, right? So talking about culture and living in Malaysia, so how long it actually took you to adapt to the culture in Malaysia? So Chris, would you like to share?
I don't. To me, I'm a kind of person that I'm socializing. I socialize with everybody. So I'm an introvert. I speak. I talk with people. I crack joke. I mix up. Wherever I find myself. So to quickly adapt to the culture here, it wasn't a problem for me. When I meet people, I try to look at their culture, their ways of life, how they speak, how they relate. So I think I just kind of within I think like 3 months I was able to get used to the culture here. Even the food, I tried to learn it's part of your food. So and with that I tried to have friends, local friends that can be of help to me, and it was quite really good for me. So it doesn't take much time for me to adapt with the culture here.
So I guess food will connect everyone together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So how about Tanvir? So does the food connection works on you?
Yes, actually, in Pakistan, we eat the spicy foods, but in Malaysia, the people don't like the spicy. I mean, spicy food like as much we have in Pakistan. But
It's not your level.
yes, yes. And according to Malaysian culture, I think it will depend on the person to person. If the person who have so many friends in Malaysia, so they can easily adapt the Malaysian culture in very few time. But according to me, I guess it took 2 to 3 years to learn to adapt the Malaysian culture. Yes.
I guess it's quite difficult to have much friends when you're doing research and so on, except for Chris, who is actively involved in a lot of activities, student activities, socializing and so on. So it took him just 3 months to get used to the Malaysian culture. So how about our two undergraduate international students? Anything that you would like to add on this part?
Yes. As a more extroverted person and someone that makes friends quite easily, I would say it didn't take me all that long to adjust to the Malaysian culture and Malaysian ways of doing things. I'd say I was used to it by a month since my arrival. It was that quick to adjust. But I do owe a large part of that gratitude to, actually, I would say it was the biggest blessing to make me feel like a part of the community and not a strange outsider. In my first trimester last January, we would go for dinner almost every single day after classes, and then even sometimes travel on the free weekends. They would also be kind enough to offer a ride whenever they can, or otherwise guide me with transportation apps or public transport methods. They were also really insightful about e-wallets and the touch and go systems, and we even exchanged e-angpaos this Chinese New Year. So I consider myself extremely lucky to have had almost 3 months of complete exposure and first-hand experience with Malaysian life, food, culture, and traditions before the first lockdown came about in March last year. So international students that fly in now perhaps will take longer since all the classes are OTL, sadly, and they wouldn't be able to meet their classmates till, of course, the whole COVID-19 situation blows over. Besides my friends, in the first trimester, I was also a part of something called the International Peer Mentoring Group, where I was appointed a mentor whom I could ask for help whenever I needed it. This program sort of reassured me, I would say, because it showed me that I'm not the only new and anxious international face around here, and there were others like me. So yeah, I was able to interact and build new friendships with many of the international students who are now my close friends. And last but not least, I would also say the staff of the Utah Department of International Student Services were extremely helpful with the technical aspect of things such as documentation, visa, and health insurance procedures, and like saw to our welfare and help. So yeah, I had a lot of help.
That is great to know that you are having a lot of friends and a lot of help when you are here in Utah. So how about Siyu?
Yes, Miss. I came to Malaysia in October 2019. It took me nearly a year to adapt to the Malaysia's culture. My friends, the International Student Service Century, and so on helped me a lot during my adjustment. And they would explain to me some of the local customs, such as the traditional Malay dressing is quite conservative as per the laws of Islam. The Malay formal dress for men is the baju Melayu, a loose, long-sleeved shirt which is worn over a pair of trousers. A white cap known as kapia is worn while going to the mosque for prayers. At the velvet cap called as songko is also worn along with the formal dress in leather shoes. The women, on the other hand, wear baju kurung, a loose tunic worn over a long skirt, which is usually made of batik, silk, or something material. A shawl known as salanda is used to cover the head. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we have heard much from all our international students about their culture and also their learning experience in Utah. So we have a little bit more time here, so perhaps you guys can share a little bit about your student life activities, club and societies that you are currently active or you are currently joining. You can also share with our international students what are the student life that you're having in the university, and so that they can understand what, apart from studies, what they can expect when they join Utah. So as I understand, like what Amana have mentioned, she is part of the peer mentoring program, and also I believe she has also some other clubs and societies that she's active in. Perhaps you can share about the clubs and society or the your ambassador program and so on, so that the students can understand much what we offer here in Utah.
Yes, as I said, one group that I'm part of is the International Peer Mentoring Group. But apart from that, as a table tennis player, I joined the Table Tennis Club of Utah immediately after coming here. And it was active because, well, pre-corona, all the clubs and societies were active. So we had practices every week, and we even had a major tournament coming up in March, but unfortunately everything was pushed back. And yeah, all of the activities of that club were halted and it's still on pause. But fortunately, the other clubs and societies were able to carry on even online. So I am also a part of the Islamic Society. So for that, we have occasional meetings, and for like the month of Ramadan, we just like spread awareness and just general information through the social media sites. But yes, like you mentioned, I am also a Utah ambassador, which is a leadership program of Utah that allows students to apply. And if elected, they could involve themselves in leadership activities that would develop their leadership skills and other soft skills and learn to work as a team, and also to learn to organize events and activities. So I would say that builds your character basically and lets you experience more of the university life, even though everything is online. And also, yeah, and this is a really good opportunity, and it would also help to promote university to other students who have no idea about what Utah offers. And as you can see, we do offer a lot. So yeah, those are the programs I'm currently involved in, hoping to join more. Yeah.
All right. So, like what you mentioned just now, Utah not only focus on academic, we also focus on student soft skills. So, as I understand that Chris has also involved himself in a lot of soft skill sharing, a lot of webinars, especially during this period of pandemic. He has done a lot of sharing with different departments on his student journey and also some other topics. So, Chris, is there anything that you would like to share about your involvement with the clubs and society webinars recently?
There are a lot of things I was able to learn through even due to the pandemic, because everything has been moved online. The webinar, like some of students in my department, undergraduate, most of them, I don't even know them because of the pandemic. By March last, everything started. So through webinar and through lectures, research, I was able to meet some of them on webinar, Zoom. We get connected because I was part of their mentor. My sponsor asked me to mentor them about their research. So I was able to get connected with them, and they get connected with their brother, and it's quite pretty good. And also, aside that, from the social life, I've been invited to many webinars socially, where I meet a lot of people, um, even from outside Malaysia, get connected from India, from Singapore. We meet on webinar, and it was through Utah I was able to meet them because of the program they organize. So I would say there are a lot of things I've been able to acquire, even with connections, opportunities, having more friends. So which is quite interesting. So I've been able to learn a lot of things through those people. So that's what I have to say.
I see. So actually, the pandemic is not stopping any one of us from socializing, from learning, from sharing our experience and our knowledge with each other. So apart from Amana and Chris, we also have Tamir, who is also helping the university recruit more international students, and also for Siyu, helping us to share her experience to guide those international students who are nearly here in. So before we conclude, would you actually recommend the university to your friends or your family members to further their studies and also to explore about Malaysia?
Yeah, I will definitely. I told you the other time that a friend of mine is coming. I was going to recommend Utah for him. And there are a lot of people, there are a lot of students in Nigeria that are ready to come to Utah. So because we study a lot, you know, in Nigeria we study a lot everywhere all over the world. So I would definitely recommend Utah, and with the program, the kind of program they have, and the facilities, the environment, the way the school is being structured, is quite pretty okay. So I have no doubt with the staffs, competent staffs, and the, as I said, the facilities there. So I would definitely recommend Utah for them to come and study. Even not only from Nigeria, from Africa, from Kenya, from Ghana, from South Africa, from all over Africa.
Yes, we look forward for you to helping us to share more about Utah to the South African students and so on. So how about the rest?
Yeah, this one's a no-brainer. I would 100% recommend the university for studies and the country for travel. Talking about the Utah Compa campus particularly, my preconceived notion of the place was that it would be very lonely here. Being a city girl all my life, I wasn't sure how I would adapt to living in a small town like Compa. But after coming here, I was proved absolutely wrong. Compa may be little, but it has its own beauty and charm. It was a huge welcome to me personally, and like a breath of fresh air almost. It is peaceful and quiet and provides the perfect atmosphere for easily distracted students like myself to study in. The Compa campus especially is so vast and green and spectacular. The labs and lecture halls are all well equipped and the lecturers are highly qualified and extremely helpful. The university itself is properly organized and students are well informed about important activities and announcements via the Utah Mail or the portal or like Webble. So yes, Compa may not be a very happening place, but you could always travel to bigger neighboring towns like Ipoh on the weekends and sightsee. Well, not now though, but yeah, when you can travel into district and into state, you can always travel to other towns and sightsee and explore other scenic places. Of course, the odds now are greatly reduced, but fortunately, I was fortunate enough to do a fair share of cautious traveling with my friends, and we have been to quite a number of places now. We traveled to Pankor Island, Ipoh, Taiping, Penang, Johor Bahru, and of course Kale, and fell in love with every single place. Hopefully, I will be able to soon resume physical classes at university and explore more of Malaysia before my 3 years are up.
Yeah, so I just want to add two things. So sorry for, I want to add two things. Number one, the cost of living here is quite cheap in compared to where I came from South Africa. It's quite expensive. I did my master in South Africa, so it's quite cheap, really very cheap to live in terms of accommodation, because I could remember the amount I would pay in South Africa, because you know it's a cool country, so it's quite high compared to Kampala. It's very cheap. That's number one. And number two, which is relatively cheap in terms of tuition fee, which is affordable. So it's not it's not expensive. Anyone can come and study here, even though you come from a poor home, it's relatively cheap. So I will quite recommend my friends from Africa to come and study. Thank you. That's what I have to add. Thank you.
Thank you. So how about Tamir?
Yes, definitely. Utah is the best university, and I have already recommended so many students from Pakistan, and this will be continue. And because I did the rational experience of my study from Utah, our teachers, our lab officers, and all the persons who are attached with the Utah, they are very helpful. They are really very helpful to their students. So that's why I have recommended so many students, and because you know I am a lecturer in Pakistan and I have so many students, and my students have applied and will apply to the Utah, because Utah is providing the affordable and quality of education. This is the reason, that is why I recommended my students to join Utah as a student and get the best study from Utah. Thank you, Ms. Mami.
Thank you, Tanvir. So as my understanding that previously during your first or second year with Utah, you have started also to recommend the university to your, like you mentioned, your students and your family members back in your hometown through the student referral program, and you're currently working full-time to recruit more international students for Utah to further their studies, right? So how about Siyu? Would you actually recommend to Utah to your friends, your family, and to your perhaps anyone that you come across that is planning to further their studies?
Yes, I will recommend my friends to study in Utah or family to come to Malaysia. First of all, with students from different countries such as Korea, Japanese, or India, and other countries. Utah is a place where you can communicate not only in English, but also in Mandarin or other country language after class. And if you want to learn Malay or other languages, you can ask your classmates or friends. And compare with European and American countries, the consumption level, I think, in Malaysia is not very high, and the average family can afford the cost. And then Utah is in a good location for students to learn. For me, study in the Chinese department of Utah, you will learn a lot of deep knowledge, such as historical records and also boy inscriptions, and so on. Finally, Utah programs are mainly taught in English and does not require a very strong Malay language. Utah also has a number of Chinese students who can better integrate it into it. It's also a good choice for families who want to travel to Malaysia, because Malaysia has many famous scenic spots. For example, the Genting Highlands, where the air is fresh and surrounded by clouds, making you feel as if you were in the sky, and the temperature is very good. Thank you.
So thank you very much for the sharing. So I hope everyone here today is enjoying our webinar today. And if you want to know more about international students living in Malaysia, you can also find out more through our YouTube channel. We have actually done another webinar earlier entitled Explore Malaysia and University Tunku Abdul Rahman from Different Perspective. Okay, so the earlier webinar was done with our special lecturer and also our international student. And if you have not viewed, or if you're interested to find out more, you can also check it out in our YouTube channel. Okay, so let's open the time for Q&A session from our participants today. And if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box, and then we will try to answer all the questions today. So meanwhile, while we are waiting for the questions, or we're waiting for anyone who has anything to ask our speakers or the university, you can put your question in the chat box. And if our speakers today have any further questions or any further sharing that you would like to do, you can also share with our audience today. Okay, so we actually have one question. Hi, proud that all of you are part of the Utah Big family. So what was the first Malay word you learned other than the name of food, and you often hear used by Malaysian? So what is the first Malay word that you have learned apart from nasi lemak? Do you actually recall what was the first Malay word?
Maybe when I hear my friends teach me the first Malay word is in English is thank you, and in Chinese is 谢谢, and in Malay is terima kasih. It's my first time to use it.
So I guess that word is actually quite useful in your daily life, especially
yes,
when you go shopping and so on.
Yeah, I think I would say terima kasih is also one of the first words. And also like the words at the airport, like keluar means exit and tandas toilet, and then surau means the prayer room. Yeah, those were like the three other words I learned immediately because it was in the airport. Yeah.
So it was quite useful when you arrived at the airport at that moment.
Yes, for sure.
One of the first language I learned is thank you, Tarima Kashi. That was the first word I first learned. Tarima Kashi. Then I also learned about good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Then makan makan, which is food. I want to.
It's food again. So how about Tamir? What was your first Malay word?
Malay word?
Yes.
I think right now I
You
don't remember.
still don't know much.
Don't remember. Yes, actually yes, because I spend a lot of my time in research, but now I guess that I have missed these days. But definitely when I will come to Malaysia and join again Utah, then definitely I will taste these things. And yes, Lisa.
Yes, sure. So because Tamir is actually back in his hometown during this pandemic period, so he's not able to come back to Malaysia for the time being. So most probably when you come back, you will need to learn one or two Malay words.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So okay. So terima kasih. Okay, so for all the participants here today, please be reminded to fill the evaluation form. The link is also provided in the chat box, so you can fill up the evaluation form after the webinar. So for now, if you still have any further questions, you can still post it and we will try to answer all your questions. So while waiting for the questions, perhaps we can continue with our sharing session, or if you have anything to share, you can also share anything else that you would like to add on.
Yeah, I would like to say I'm also now in a program called the Utah Undergraduate Research Scheme, which is actually really helpful academically because it helps you sharpen your research skills and think more like a researcher. So if anyone is unaware, they could also apply to one of the research schemes and get involved in a research study. And that would really be helpful if you're looking to improve research-wise. So yeah, I'm currently involved in that as well.
Thank you for the sharing. So actually for science stream students, even for Malaysian, is some of us or some of our students out there may always think that it's quite difficult to study in the science stream. So is it actually that difficult to graduate from Utah or to study a science program in Utah? So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't still graduated, but so far, so good, I would say, as long as you are doing your part of the work and listening to the lecturer and making sure that you follow their advice on how to pass exams and how to revise for exams and such. And my physical lab sessions, actually my classes have been online except for the practical classes. In physically at Utah. I mean, if you're here at Kampa, then you could go join the physical lab sessions, and that has been really helpful because practicals, you can't really look at a screen and learn the techniques. It's really difficult. So fortunately and unfortunately, I'm still here in Kampa. So yeah, I did attend the physical classes, and yeah, as long as you keep up with your lessons, you can do well in the exams. There are no problems.
So I guess for undergraduate studies, there is not much a problem because you're doing your online classes, and during the classes or during the sessions, you have any questions, you can always ask your lecturers in the something like what we are doing now in the chat box, or if you have any questions after the class, you can also attend the consultation hours and so on. So I guess for postgraduate research, it's quite similar to online learning, where you have to constantly keep in touch with your supervisors to update on your research progress, and also to communicate with them, right? So I guess for postgraduate, especially in the research, there isn't much problem as long as you keep communicating with your advisors and your supervisors. Anything to add on this part about the research program, the PhD program, and so on?
Although I don't think that this will be very easy for international students. This is what I want to say. But my experience from South Africa, like I've been to like 3 or 4 universities there. What they do for their local students, like they bring them from high school to come to the university, like mentorship on science. They might just teach how to make soap, so to develop a skill on a bit from high school. When they are still in high school, they'll bring them to the university, and by then they were acquainted with that. By then they want to come to the university from there. They already get you, because they call them Kenya Master. We have different programs, but mostly for the local. So I don't know, as well as I know, maybe it's applicable for international students, only for local students. But from high school, you bring them to the university to give them a little research about like acid and base, what for those people in science, so to develop their skills to come to the university. So that's what I think. But I don't know, maybe it's applicable. It can be applicable for international students.
But I guess it's similar to what Amana has shared with us about the undergraduate research scheme, where you get your your a little bit of experience and a little bit more understanding about the research scheme before you move on to the postgraduate studies. So perhaps that is what is similar to what you have shared just now. So for students who are actually in your undergraduate studies right now, and you're interested to pursue your postgraduate studies in research, you can actually sign up for the undergraduate research scheme to have an idea of what actually postgraduate research program is about. And if you have any questions about that, you can also ask us, or if you need assistance, you can also look for Amana. She would be glad to assist you as well.
In addition, then there's another, we call it community service. We go to the community, yes. Like here in Kampala, we can go to Campo schools, like private school, just go and teach them mathematics, just community service. And we just go for the university, we go and give them like orientation about how to develop their skills in mathematics, English, all science. So we treat them, we call it community service. I don't know, maybe you have it here.
Yes, it's like you're giving back to the society with your knowledge and so on. Yes, that is also part of the programs out of your academic, where you can volunteer yourself to be involved in. So if you're interested in the social program, you can also contact Chris here to find out more, and then I'm sure he will be glad to assist you as well. Okay, so I guess that is all that we have for today. We are about to end our webinar. So thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us today. And I hope you have a better understanding of studying in Utah as an international student. Okay, so please be reminded to fill up the evaluation form. The link is given in the chat box. And if you have any questions after the webinar, you can always contact us, the Division of Program Promotion, and we will be glad to assist you. Okay, so last but not least, a big thank you to all our speakers today for your generous sharing of your student life, and also to all our participants for spending your Friday afternoon with us.
Thank you.
Take care and also stay safe.
Thank you.
Jumpa
Thank you.
lagi.
Bye-bye. Jumpa
Bye
lagi.
bye.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Bye.
Bye.